Well, wasn't that episode a doozy? This video is a recap and review of White Lotus Season 3, Episode 5, Full Moon Party. And boy, were so many people showing their asses both literally and metaphorically in this episode. The groups are a little rearranged because everybody's everywhere, but before I yap about that, let's just get into it. Let's start with Papa, Mama, and the little Buddhist girl. At dinner, Piper tells her parents that she did not come to Thailand for her fake thesis, but rather to scope out the meditation center she wants to join for a year after college graduation. Piper says she wants to, quote, develop her spirituality. Victoria is very offended by the idea, and she makes racist remarks about all Buddhists being Chinese and how they are from a different world. Victoria even mistakenly claims that Piper wants to live in Taiwan, even though they've been in Thailand for several days now. Victoria sees the meditation center as a place for purposeless, grungy kids. Furthermore, people who join these centers drop out of society. Piper is keen on figuring out what makes her happy, and how she can't function like Saxon, who just signed up for bullshit. And boy, does Tim know about that bullshit. Throughout this confrontation, Tim is zonked out of his mind and distracted by thoughts of federal prison. There is a funny scene where Tim is singing, reminiscing about his days as an altar boy. Victoria says they are going to visit the monk the next day to confirm his credentials. I think Victoria's consistent ragging about the meditation center extended past its comedic and plot effect. And I feel like I'm a little bit of an outlier here, but let me justify my thoughts. Victoria's indignation would make more sense if more time in the past 4 episodes was spent building the specifics of the social milieu that the Ratliffs belong to. While I can believe Victoria would be concerned for social, professional, and image-based reasons, it is more out of stereotypes about people who belong to country clubs as opposed to anything we've actually seen from Victoria herself. Overall, Victoria has come across as a chill mom. She may have her misgivings, but she seemed in prior episodes to be overall open. I think my criticisms come from her clear lorazepam addiction, which I would assume would make her some kind of outcast in her hometown, since it clearly impairs her cognition. But no, she has the mindset of a typical waspy mom. Not to mention how she scoffed Kate at breakfast, so I just thought she didn't care what people thought about her. There was also that moment where she randomly spoke Thai while ordering room service, so again, showing that she is slightly culturally competent. I just wish this confrontation between Piper and Victoria felt earned based off of prior conversations we had seen with Victoria. When the couple does go to bed, Victoria talks about random things upending a life of doing everything right, and she's saying this in reference to Piper's meditation center dreams. Of course, Tim knows that a Buddhist daughter is not the most important problem that Victoria should be worried about now. While the girls are sleeping, Tim writes a suicide note. Well, it's not really a letter, it's literally, "I'm so sorry, I love you," which, it's really sad anyone who gets to this point in their life, but that's where Tim's at. He did in fact have Guy Tuck's gun, which he puts to his temple, but is interrupted by Victoria waking up in the night. Victoria comments on his altered state and asks what's going on. Tim then rails about the expectations put on him. I really get it, Tim. I think life in general expectations are too much, but I have no idea what expectations have to do with you participating in criminal transactions. Victoria says there's no reason to be stressed because he's already succeeded in every way. The show constantly does this thing where Victoria makes clear the contradiction between her perception of her husband and the reality. They just haven't done anything with that yet, so maybe eventually Tim is going to tell Victoria, "Yeah, girl, you got it wrong. I'm going to jail. Clink, clink." Anyway, the episode ends with Tim asking God to tell him what to do. And I wonder if it's not God who tells him what to do, but Buddha. So let's get on to the party girls, or the party women, which is more appropriate, but of course Jacqueline wants them to be known as the girls. Anyway, let's get into her little, I wouldn't say psychosis, but unhealthy obsession with youth. We learned that Valentine has known his friends since he was young, and they all came from the same exact city. Vlad, the bald one, talks about his dead parents and his bitchy aunt and sister. After learning that they shared ballet classes in common, well, at least Lori and Jacqueline, Kate was in softball, they decide to go and show their skills on the dance floor. The women dance hard, but Jacqueline is dangerously concerned about the opinion of younger, hotter women drinking at a table. The girls were probably not even thinking about Jacqueline, but it's clear that Jacqueline has this dangerous fixation on proving her youth to those around her. And then there's Kate, where there's just several funny shots of her really not being into the vibe of the club. And girl, I'm with you. I'm not even that old. I'm only 30. Like, in comparison to these women who I'm assuming are in their mid 40s at least, right? Like, girl, I'm not, don't catch me at the club. Catch me at my bed. Catch me at my desk. Catch me reading. I'm not at the club. And I'm with Kate here all the way. Everything Kate did here was very aligned to what I would do, except I would have probably left the club a lot earlier. Anyway, Alexei brings shots, which everyone partakes in except for the logical Kate. Lori takes Kate's extra shot. Kate seems to be the only woman who has reconciled with her aging and seems completely fine with it. And for that, she's my favorite of this group. Again, I was also even surprised that Lori was indulging in this, but I guess because she is divorced and she's also probably feeling this anxiety of, like, you know, a lot of people might not necessarily find a woman in her 40s with a child and a very busy career a viable partner. So maybe she's also anxious that she's not going to be able to kind of even live the life that you're supposed to live in your 40s as a woman with a child. A group of young Russian girls confront Alexei for partying with the women, and Kate uses this as an opportunity for the girls to go and leave the club. I think the girls are in the clear, and then Lori blurts out that the guys should join them at their villa. And again, 100% with Kate here, this is not a good idea. You don't invite strangers to your villa, especially just don't invite anybody. And in fact, this reminded me of an exact situation that happened to me when I was 21 and I went on a vacation with friends and they did the same exact thing, and I thought that was not cool or copacetic at all. And of course, I was kind of ostracized. So I'm here with Kate. Ostracize me all you want. I do not think strangers that we do not know should be invited to your Airbnb, your hotel room, or whatever without further verification. And it's not saying like you shouldn't have fun or whatever, but especially a group of guys. No, at least one guy. One guy, maybe we could tackle him if shit goes left. But when it's a group of guys, that's not safe. That's not a good situation. At the villa, the girls continue to drink and the Russians jump in the pool, Vlad doing so butt naked. Jacqueline peacocks for the guys in this, I really love this beautiful leopard print suit, while Lori literally takes her tops off. Kate is just watching in horror and mild disgust. Lori confirms that she is a corporate lawyer who feels undervalued at work. And this is one moment where I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool that I'm now a lawyer. And so I understood the K&E reference. So for those who didn't know, K&E is in reference to a very massive law firm called Kirkland and Ellis, which is known for orchestrating large merger and acquisition deals. But they're also known to use lawyers essentially as like just like they're a number. So I feel like Lori had big dreams of her kind of basically being a very important lawyer at Kirkland and Ellis, but that is a very hard feat to accomplish at a place where so many people basically are vying for the same thing. Anyway, she rails about having to pay for palimony to her ex-husband. Again, a self-made woman. I think I've seen commentators say that Lori is not financially in the same boat as Jacqueline and Kate. And let me just say, if she's the type of lawyer that I assume she is and that she's alluded to the fact that she is, I believe that she's probably in a very similar financial boat as Jacqueline and Kate. It's just that one, she lives in New York City, so the cost of living is much higher. And two, it's not like she's necessarily living a lavish life because most of her days are probably her just stuck in the same five, like, I don't know what's the equivalent of Polo Ralph Lauren suits in her office. So it's just not a glamorous life in the same way that Jacqueline and Kate have it, but believe, she's making good money. Anyway, Vlad continues to talk about his traumatic childhood to a flabbergasted Kate and a passed out Jacqueline. Kate takes the initiative to get the guys out. Again, thank you, Kate, for having logic. Lori whispers sweet nothings to Valentine before he goes, showing that she's clearly interested in him. Also, Alexei invites them to go to the match the next night, likely the same match Valentine invited Guy Talk to while the hotel was being robbed. The funniest line in the episode is Kate saying, "Good luck to your family," to Vlad as she's ushering them out. Jacqueline was so geeked about them having fun at their age, while also claiming that Lori should have hooked up with one of them. And of course, we figure out that Jacqueline's a little bit of a snake here. Come to find out, Jacqueline has invited Valentine to her room. She's still very drunk, so not sure how this all works out in terms of her being that drunk and him still being interested in her sexually. But anyway, she is in desperate need of validation of the fact that she could still get it from a young gun. But so she engages in this very dumb decision. I suspect Lori will find out and feel betrayed. And I also think that this is just dirty work. This actually kind of feels similar to what we saw in season 1 between those two friend groups, where it's like sometimes friends can have this weird relationship where just because they have convinced somebody else to like something, they have to have it as well. And we also saw this also with Cameron and Ethan in season 2 as well, where Ethan was talking about how Cameron would always try to get the girls that he said he had a crush on because there was this idea of conquest. So I think Jacqueline likes the idea, even though she was the one who implanted the idea, that she was able to get the guy that Lori wanted. Anyway, she's messed up. I don't trust her at all. She doesn't have all her screws together, and I don't like what she's doing to the other girls, because remember, they wouldn't have even been at the club if it weren't for her. But I also have to give Lori some push here, because it's like, girl, you also are a lawyer. You need to have some decorum. I'm not saying I'm no lawyer, so I know that they definitely participate in these shenanigans, but have some decorum, okay? You got the ethics boards to worry about. Anyway, I hope Kate just packs her bags and goes home, because that's what I would have done. Because I was like, I signed up for a trip to Thailand at a wellness resort. That's what I signed up for. I wanted to do yoga. I want to go to the pool, maybe explore some Thai sites just to make sure I get some history in. But I didn't sign up for all this. And sometimes you just have to realize a vacation is not for you. And I think Kate is going to be the one who's going to get the short end of the stick between all three of these girls when things inevitably blow up. So let's get to our Bangkok babies. Rick is finally in Bangkok after 4 episodes of teasing of his need to go there. His room seems pretty nice and spacious wherever he is. I hope they drop the deets, but every time somebody's like, oh, I wonder what room this was based in, somebody drops like a 4 Seasons hotel room that costs $17,000 a night. And I actually think that's the stats for the hotel that we see represented as White Lotus. Anyway, I still want to live like that, maybe once in a while. Rick goes to the lobby to meet Frank, who's played by Oscar-winning actor Sam Rockwell. Frank was the guy Rick called earlier in the season for help for his Bangkok adventure. Unsurprisingly, Rick ignores a call from Chelsea while having drinks with Frank. Except, only Rick is drinking because Frank is now sober. After giving Rick the requested gun, we learn that Frank has been sober for 10 months because he took the partying as far as it can go. And my God, did he take the partying far? I don't even know if I'd consider this partying as much as it is a strange sex addiction, like a strange drug-induced sex addiction. Anyway, let's get to Frank's story because it is fascinating. Even if it's useless, it's fascinating. Frank tells his backstory about choosing Thailand because he had a thing for Asian girls. Issue 1. I mean, also, it's not really an issue. I kind of know that a lot of guys do go to Asian countries for this reason. That just made me depressed about the whole Asian fetish thing. Whatever. Problem 1, he has a little bit of an Asian fetish. Okay, so what starts off as a mild fetish for Asian women descends into debauchery that this world has never known. Well, I won't say it's debauchery the world has never known, because I know there's probably about 1,000 dudes right now randomly in Asia that are doing probably this exact thing that Frank described. Anyway, he was trying to understand his obsession with Asian girls and what it meant to be an Asian girl. So naturally, right, he says, I asked a lady boy to have sex with me and for me to be the receiver. Then he escalates to putting out an ad to get a man who looks like him to have sex with him while he dresses up in lingerie to look like one of the Asian girls. So the story then escalates even further with him hiring an Asian girl to watch him so that he could watch her watching him having orgies with all these white men so that he could know what it feels like to be an Asian woman. Bro, what the... Anyway, I think that this was just a drug-induced psychosis episode, that a very prolonged one. So thank God he's sober now and he's into Buddhism. Honestly, I just want to shout out anybody on the sobriety journey. Like, thank God. I'm sure most of you have never gotten to this point, but like, look at this. This is what you could be. This is what you could be if you don't put the drink down. Okay? All right. Thank you. I want to say I think this clip is hilarious because I also am afraid because I think people are going to take that Frank scene and use it seriously, because this is really how middle America perceives any non-hetero, non-cisgender people. Like, this is their idea of, like, this is what transgender is. And that's not what this is. I just want to be clear. This is not what transgender identity is, but this is how middle America perceives people who are transgender. I just hope this show doesn't get into the wrong hand, because I can already see people reasoning that this is what happens when people or kids are taught that gay people exist in elementary school or even middle school. And while that would be entertaining in an abstract sense to see people use Frank's speech to make a serious conversation about why the LGBTQ community needs to be further marginalized, I understand that there's probably going to be real people affected by this conversation. Either way, for now, this is hilarious, and I love this scene, and I just love absurdism. And so any more absurdist points, I love it. Fortunately, that convo ends in Rick asks Frank to roleplay for him the following night. And look, Frank knows a lot about roleplaying. We know that for a fact. This will clearly be a disaster since Frank has no sense of boundaries when it comes to oversharing about his personal life. Also, I think this involves a meeting with Shratala, who is let's hear it, an Asian woman, and Frank has made clear he has an unhealthy obsession with Asian women. This conversation will not end well, and it will all be Frank's fault. Frank just doesn't seem like he's 100% there. I think Rick has caught it a little bit, but at the end of the day, he doesn't know anybody else in Bangkok. So this will be an absolute disaster that I'm very excited to see. Back at his hotel, Rick calls Chelsea, who is unfortunately preoccupied with a sick game of monkey see, monkey do with the Ratliff brothers. So let's get over to the full moon party freaks. Okay, Saxon makes this whole speech to Lachlan about how people just want to be used and be told what to do, which relates to the meandering soliloquy Frank gave to Rick, in the sense that he will be able to get all these people to go along with his wildly inappropriate Asian woman obsession because they're being told what to do. I try to make a connection with the soliloquy that Frank gave and what Saxon is saying here. Do I think there's a point? I'm questioning it now as I'm reading the script, but I do think that there is a relationship between this idea of, like, why do people just do these really heinous things? It's because people want to be told what to do and they want to be used. And unfortunately, that'll be relevant with these four later. Chloe then tells Chelsea that she likes the little magician in reference to Lachlan. Chloe goes on to talk about how she likes seeing them shake. And she's referring to, like, I guess young boys or young guy. No, 18. I can call an 18-year-old boy a boy. I'm going to call him a boy. But anyway, I'm sorry. I don't care if she's French Canadian or whatever is going on over there with the Quebecois. I just feel like this is predatory behavior because please, Chloe, find yourself a 25-year-old. Like at youngest, Chloe's giving like 28. So I don't know what she's trying to do with Lachlan, but I do not like it at all. So Chelsea says she's a romantic and she couldn't cheat on Rick. Chloe says that all the romantics she knew from modeling ended up broke and heartbroken. And there's an inference that you could even die from being a romantic. I truly, truly hope nothing happens to Chelsea again. In the scene in the last episode where she checks in on the sales clerk at that store that was robbed. Let's save Chelsea. Chelsea's probably, top. I think she's even higher than Piper in my opinion. Chelsea's number one in terms of people that I want to live. Maybe same, and then Belinda, because Belinda annoys me a little bit. So yeah, anyway, Chelsea's number one for me. So the one right thing that Chloe does say is that Chelsea can't spend her whole life trying to rescue Rick. He's not Chelsea's child, he's 50. And I love the delivery of that line from evil Chloe here. Saxon tells Lachlan he's vying for Chelsea because she's rude to him, and he likes going after things that he can't have. The pairs eventually link up, and Saxon talks about brotherly love, which is clearly, unfortunately, a harbinger of what's to come. The group walks along the beach to the party, where Chloe says they need to honor local traditions of getting laid. Chelsea clocks that Saxon does in fact have issues despite his protest to the contrary. He says he's a blank slate, tabula rasa, and Chelsea says, no, you got issues. As long as you're not weird though, I'm willing to party. Surprisingly, Lachlan seems the most eager to drink and consume that night, but then again, I'm like, he's 18. He has no idea about what these things can do to you, or at least grasp the full consequences, especially when the quote unquote adult in his life, Saxon, here is not necessarily stopping him. But Saxon does tell him to slow down. And Lachlan responds that one day he's going to take Saxon down, whatever that means. I'm so sorry. I wrote I wrote in the script all these innuendos towards like a sexual tension between the brothers, and I just feel so icky repeating it aloud. When Chloe offers drugs, Lachlan doesn't hesitate to consume, and Saxon is clearly disappointed by Lachlan's choice. After being ignored by Rick, Chelsea also takes Chloe's drugs. At this moment, I'm thinking, here we have it. We've got it. Saxon's redemption arc. He's going to be the only one who doesn't take the drugs, and because he's not under the influence of the drugs, he's going to be able to save the day when shit goes left. Except he succumbs to the peer pressure and takes the drugs. All right, so there you go, Saxon. You ruined your one chance. You ruined it. While watching fireworks, Lachlan tenderly rubs Saxon back, just pointing out these moments, which will come to the moment that we all know is coming, or at least I didn't want to know was coming. Chelsea is on the boat worried about Rick. She explains how she feels emotionally unaddressed in her relationship. Chloe takes this vulnerable moment to flirt with Chelsea and proposes a foursome between the brothers. Ew, girl. And also, Chelsea, you should have said something, but Chelsea's probably just really worried and concerned about Rick here, and also drunk and high out of her mind. But Chloe, girl, jail. Straight to prison. Chelsea doesn't think Rick would kill her over something like that, but Chloe believes that the Greg Gary is capable of killing her. And yes, he is. Although he's a little bit of a coward, he will hire his former gay lover who he never reciprocated love for to kill you. So, yeah. She then predatorily says that her little magician is going to do his little magic trick. So again, Chloe with this little magician thing. The group continues to drink, and Chelsea and Chloe have a kiss. Chloe then kisses Lachlan. Again, violation. He's 18, you freak. This is just not appropriate to me. And I know there's probably going to be people who are like, it's not that bad. He's 18. It's legal. I don't care if it's legal. That doesn't mean it's not freaky deaky and weird. Doesn't mean I can't judge you for it. And here I am, judging. Anyway, that's not enough. She wants the brothers to kiss. Lachlan seems surprisingly eager to participate, while Saxon is completely out of it and confused. Okay, so you disgusting whores won. There is incest in this show, because if you watch my prior recaps, you will see how much I was totally against the incest idea. I was like, no, it's just like shock imagery. They're just trying to show, what brothers do. No, actually, there's incest. So you guys were right. But that's primarily because Mike White is a freak. But I am holding out hope, all right? I'm holding out hope. Let me explain myself. Because remember, my boy Lachlan is just young, and he's extremely susceptible to peer pressure. Also remember, it was Saxon who said at the beginning of the episode that people just want to be told what to do. So how's Lachlan any different? Chloe told him to kiss his brother, and then she said kiss him harder, and so that's what he did. He just wanted to be told what to do, right? Right? Exactly. Logic, I don't know. The logic is weak, but I'ma fight. If I am your lawyer, I will fight for you down. I'ma fight for you, Lachlan, because incest is a very hard thing to get past. I also want to point out there's a huge difference, because I think there's a little bit of this. There's a huge difference between sexuality and incest, okay? Nothing about any of these characters exploring their sexuality requires the involvement of a family member. I saw someone comment under a post, and I think some people are being cheeky and funny, but they commented under a post that this scene is something about like gay representation. So glad to see more gay representation on TV. And I want to be clear, this is not representation. This is gay slander. This is gay slander. Nothing about being gay or a part of the LGBTQ community requires you to look at your siblings, okay? All right, glad we got that settled. And yes, I know Mike White wants people to discuss the nuances of the scene and its implication, and he's not thinking that people are going to conflate incest and sexuality. But I just want to confirm that, because I feel like people sometimes just take it too far. Either way, fuck you, Mike White. I really didn't want to deal with incest at all, but here we are. All right, let's get to the last but not least, because they did have quite substantial plot lines in this episode, the hotel staff. So the episode actually opens with Mr. Guy Talk frantically searching for a gun at the security booth. My boy is having a mini panic attack when he remembers that, hey, Security records everything. And this was just a funny moment to me because I'm like, yeah, that's your job, bro. Aren't you supposed to be looking at those monitors all day? Anyway, he's able to find the moment when Tim goes into the security booth and clearly pilfers that gun. Guy Talk walks into dinner service where he's able to spot Tim in the middle of their heated family discussion. However, Fabian catches Gay Talk and Gay Talk says he just wanted to see Mook dance. But Fabian, the ever logical Fabian, concludes, hey, Gay Talk, you should be doing your job and I'm only going to allow you to leave your post for a few minutes. But I'm thinking back on this is actually kind of a fireable offense. Either way, again, I still want to blame the White Lotus Thailand as we are seeing it for a horrible security infrastructure. But again, I don't expect a security guard to leave his post in the middle of the night during a huge holiday in Thailand just to watch somebody dance. That is not okay. Okay, I want to defend Guy Talk, but I cannot anymore. Guy Talk, it's too much. I unfortunately am with the crew. You should be fired. You should have been fired. When Tim excuses himself from the table to go to the bathroom, Guy Talk takes the, wow, my pronunciation of vowels is horrible today. Anyway, Guy Talk takes the opportunity to confront Tim about the pilfered gun. Guy Talk says, I cannot find something. I think you have it. And then Tim says, I don't know what you're talking about. Now, there are a lot of moments throughout this show that provide evidence that Guy Talk is not a good security guard. But this was honestly the worst moment to me. What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. You need to confront him. You don't need to push him up or anything. You just need to say, hey, boy, I'm not going to let you leave this until you let me secure you because I believe that something important is here that needs to be taken back with me. Not only that, escalate it even further. You could lie. These are foreigners. There's a Thai law that if you get caught stealing a gun, they can cut off your hand, and they've done it to foreigners before. So test me. Of course, Tim's kind of in a situation where he probably would be willing to get his hand cut off as opposed to dealing with everything that he's dealing with now. But regardless, I just find Guy Talk's inability to be confrontational in this moment just really evident about how he's not a good security guard. Although I will say, most security guards, they're not actually going to defend you when anything goes down. Security job's primary job is just to deter action, right? Like if you want to steal something and you see a security guard, you're probably not going to steal it because you think, oh, the security guard is going to do something or say something. They are really deterrents as opposed to like actively as opposed to be reactionaries towards the action. But either way, Guy Talk has no instincts that anybody should have in a job where they're supposed to secure anything. Not only that, secure your ass, bro. Secure your job. Secure your life. That's what you should have been securing. Anyway, though not relevant to the plot, I did love seeing Mook dance earlier in the scenes of this episode. Again, I think a lot of people have a lot of theories about Mook, but I just feel like she's just very underwritten. And so is Fabian. I think Fabian is extremely underwritten, but I hope they are not too involved in whatever happens towards the end of this season, because I just feel like they didn't earn their place to be there. But I suspect, as many people are suspecting, that they likely will play some role in what ultimately happens with this huge shootout. Fabian later enters the hotel and notices that Guy Talk seems nervous and offers him some antacid, which Guy Talk rejects. At the change of the guard, the incoming guard asks Guy Talk explicitly if there's anything he should know, and Guy Talk says no, a sign that something with the gun may go off further. And I think this is beyond even just Tim shooting himself. Maybe somebody else gets a handle of that gun. But as I mentioned earlier as well, I do not think Guy Talk's gun is the gun that is being used in the attack that we saw in episode 1 with Zion, because the gun sound that we heard in episode 1 came from an automatic gun, which the gun that Guy Talk has is not. Anyway, in Belinda's storyline, Fabian catches up with Belinda, telling her that one of the regular guests was asking about her. Fabian sees this as flirting and Belinda's potential access to wealth, but Belinda is aware of the dangerous connotations because she knows it was Greg who was asking about her. Later, Belinda whispers to Fabian her history with Greg and why she's not excited about him asking questions about her. Fabian is clearly confused because without being entrenched in the details, it does sound like far-fetched crime brain fodder. Belinda says she thinks they should call the police. Now, Fabian rightfully says no. Like, Belinda girl, do not involve yourself and the entire White Lotus institution. Give an anonymous tip yourself to the relevant agency. And I agree with Fabian's response here. Unless there's some international bolo for Greg, there's no reason to get involved with this without further concrete proof. At her room, Pornchai joins Belinda to sympathize with her perspective on Greg's story, since clearly nobody believes her except the man who wants to sleep with her. That sounds so mean, but it's, yeah, sometimes that's the truth. And I know he was thinking that whole time she was telling that story. I don't know about this Greg dude, but I do hope you allow me to stay because you smell good. I feel like Belinda's just a woman who smells really good. Like someone who smells really fruity. I don't know. I think she smells good. I randomly always imagine how people smell. And I think Belinda's probably the best smelling cast member. Anyway, the scratching continues, and Pornchai reveals that a lizard was the one that was stuck behind her armoire. I think that I'm kind of shocked that Belinda's reaction to this lizard was so shocking because she lives in Hawaii. They have a bunch of lizards and animals out there, and they have giant ass gnats and flies and dragonflies. Like I feel like the lizard wouldn't be that big of a shock to her, but she makes all that hoopla. So here we are. Belinda asks Pornchai to stay, and of course he obliges. As they get ready for bed, Pornchai pretends to be coy and asks if he should sleep in the separate bed. Belinda awkwardly says she's consenting to him sharing a bed with her. And then they share a kiss. Oh, they share a kiss. It was so cute. And of course they're going to have sexy time, and Belinda deserves it, and Pornchai is so cute. I hope that she can bring him to Hawaii, or he can come to Thailand. I don't know. I just, love story. I love it. Anyway, that's that for this episode. In general, I think this episode really picked things up. I had a lot of strong emotions while watching these scenes, so it's a sign that things are picking up and that the show's doing what it needs to do, because you don't want apathetic audience. Even if I'm not happy with the emotions I felt them, and I think that that's what good art ultimately always does. I still feel jilted by the 4 preceding hours that we had to endure to get here, but I could see why early reviewers were excited about the season overall. Still, again, I think we could have built some of these characters a bit more. The tension could have been there for the characters, more evident, but you know what? I'm glad we're here. Things are picking up. It seems exciting. I was emotional. It did what it needed to do. So it does seem like the theme for the season is taboos. We get the taboo of incest, the taboo of Asian woman obsession / how that relates to some weird, I want to be an Asian woman thought, cheating, wealthy girl going to a meditation center. So I think the show is really asking us to consider what happens when characters indulge in the taboo. So I expect more taboo topics to be discussed. And also, what's a taboo is it's not strange. People aren't surprised by it, but the taboo of a man who's well considered in his community going to jail. So we'll have to wait and see. But please leave a comment, a like, or even subscribe. I'm now very comfortable asking people to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Until next time, this was Strategic Delusion.